Hello everyone, this is Federico from Jevero. What I want to show you today in this tutorial is a few ways that we found with our users on how to reconstruct a model that's, for example, made in DXF and remake it in a way that's more accessible and more easy to reconstruct. So I've noted down some of the tools I'm going to be showing in this short video. I have this model that I prepared. I'm going to import it. Normally, when you import models in DXF, in Rhino, or even Illustrator files in Rhino, they all have some critical issues that you approach in different ways, right? What we found is useful is this series of tools that are either from Jevero on this part and or from Rhino curve tools. And we explored more recently in some sessions with some users, and we can now feel confident that these tools can be helpful for everyone. So what I want to show first thing is that all these files will be this file specifically has been exported in blocks. It could be layers or blocks or any other way. Now we're exploring the most critical, which is blocks. So whenever you select an object, you clearly see that you select a group of objects that have been saved as block definitions. That's because that some programs they export by default in this way. So we can see clearly that we select by just clicking one thing, we select a group of objects, which is alright, but we want to touch the specific curves to start rebuilding and reconstructing the whole model. So what we want to do is take, for example, this model, this part, and we see that with the command explode, which I guess is the first one I did not save over here. So I'm gonna put it here. The command explode will help me open up the block definition. So I'm going to use the command explode. Remember, you always have the help here. You can type explode, and now I see that I can select all the objects one by one. A second critical thing is that once we see the models, we have, this is a typical line that we get. So there's lots of points. There's notches which have no information, so they're just points on a polyline that slightly go off. And then there are some areas where perhaps there's a margin or anything else where you have lots of points. So what we want to do is, well, remove some of the points. Here, for example, I have two lines, but I don't have them over here. So I want to first rebuild a curve in a way that's a proper curve and not a polyline, because I can check by using the command points on, which is the same as editing here. I just use the command points on, and you see that this DXF has been exported with polylines. So I actually have lots of segments here instead of a nice curve. So let's take as an example this curve. I'm going to isolate. Just to be sure, I follow my index. I just look at this. I'm going to use isolate, and what I'm going to do is split this line in some critical points. For example, I want this whole line to be on its own, this one to be on its own, and yeah, we'll think about doing something else for this one. So the first thing I want to use is split. This command here, split a line in multiple points. This is a macro of the Rhino command, which just lets me select a point instead of an object. So I'm going to click and divide this curve in 4. So now I have these 4. I'm also going to remove these notches, and what I'm going to do is just left to right to select the notch and delete that point. I think this is the fastest way. And well, this one is fine. This one has 16 points. We can definitely do better. And this one also has, only here has 40 points. So what I want to use is this guy here, rebuild. So I'm just changing the color of this curve so I don't lose track of it. If I change visualization and just go with blue, so with this curve I want to rebuild it, and with the command rebuild made in Rhino, I'm going to show our solution as well. We have the original number of points and the new number of points that we want. Normally 12 to 16 is a fine amount, and you can check the deviation over here. So it's 0.4. In this red dot it will be the maximum deviation is 0.4 units, which is fair, but we can increase. Even with 15 points we have 0.1 millimeters, which, yeah, I dare you to to say it makes a difference. So now the points are more well distributed and way less, and it's easier for me to edit them. So remember that if you're doing this for each part, you explode and you separate each part, then you will be able also to rebuild more curves altogether. So for example, well, I'm going to explode all the curves, all the block instances rather, and grab some of these curves, isolate. Now I have a number of curves over here. I have last copy, which honestly is not that useful, but I can, for example, use the split on this one as well. And now, well, there's a few of them, but let's say grab these two, right? I'm going to isolate them just to show you more clearly. I'm going to click on the top notch, and now if I rebuild them together, I'm able to have this situation where both curves are basically on the same point. There is also one command over here to collapse points on the same location. So if you want an exact down to the very last fraction of millimeter, you're able to have that. Basically, this command will show you a central position for the between these 2 points. You can click anywhere, but I'm going to click on the middle position just for this example. So now from a very bad curve, we have 2 very smooth and clean curves, which are all the same. They have similar topology, so I'm able to edit them together. It takes some time to rebuild, so I guess you want to take one by one and perhaps even delete the top part and just do on the half shell. I'm gonna have this one example to show some other tricks. Let's call them tricks. I will remove these notches by clicking on the single point and then split on these 4 parts. You can also get some axis here. Sometimes this curve is fine, it's just 2 points, but sometimes what you get is stuff like this, which is not ideal for creating axes for mirroring. And there is a tool that's called simplify lines and arcs. Basically, the icon is pretty self-explanatory. It will detect if some lines are like purely straight and remove the points in the middle and just make them straight. So I will use this command over here, and now it detected that this was a straight line even though it had multiple points in it. And yeah, it makes it way easier. So that's something you can actually do. I'm going to change the color again just to show you a little thing. I'm going to show everything. See this one I just showed. I can just select everything and run this command. So it will tell me that there were actually 88 curves. It won't change the geometry, it will just change the topology, because sometimes there could be more points than what you actually need. So most curves were not further simplified, but 88 curves were. So this is already a step forward. I will cell color this and isolate, and hide these guys. This was exploded, I guess. We'll take care of that later. So now we were at the point where I split the curve in these 4 sides, let's say. It depends on your approach. If you want to divide this and have only half and then mirror with Jevero, you can do that. That's personal decision. What I'm going to do is take a look at these curves and see that they are very much dense, and we don't need that at all. So I'm going to rebuild this, and you can see that from 168 points I can get, I guess with 30 I'm good to go. Maybe 40. Yeah, this is way better already. We can do better. There's actually this rebuild curve non-uniform, which basically will put as many points where it's needed. You know, we can stretch it to have a tolerance of 0.1 and point count to, let's stretch it a little bit more, 18 points. The deviation is rather high, almost a millimeter, so I'm gonna go to 25. 0.3 is fine for me. And now I have something way more usable. Same goes for these 2 lines. These require very few points, and I can edit them together. So I'm able to perhaps use 8 points or 9. Yeah, 9 points is way better. This one is alright. I can do better. yeah, let's not waste too much time on this. And now I'm able to place notches over here. I'm using Control E to edit and place the notch. So this is already quite good. There are other things. Let me try with, well, this last copy seems interesting. Actually, let me try with something different. I'm just guessing here. So I'm going to use these two curves, the last copy and this one. I just make an example. I'll remake it in a way that makes more sense for our example, because now I cannot find it. But one tool that's more recent in Jevero is the margin match. So what this does is, let me rebuild this already. I'm just working my way to make an example that makes sense. So when you have curves that are similar, that you can tell one was the offset of a second one, right? I can just setting me up for to make it slightly better, because I could not find any example in this model. With the margin match, which is within the margin menu, and over here you can select the parent and the margin, and you can make a curve the margin of the other one. So you don't need to recreate one, but you can use the one you already had. So there's 3 different ways you can use this: smooth, stiff, and pick points, which is user dictated. So smooth will try to find some points. Stiff will just be making a lot of points, and pick is up to the user. So now this is a margin of the parent curve. So you can re-establish the relationship between curves. So let's get these guys out of the way. This one, simplify, rebuild. There's one interesting tool that's called curve through polyline. Basically, I'm just gonna grab any curve here. This one's pretty interesting too. Basically, once I have a curve, you know, this is a polyline, as we established earlier. So there is this nice command that I can use to create a curve from a polyline. Did I do it? That's not my command. I just call it from the through polyline. I was referring to this one, and yeah, something was a different one that I that I used, but it's called curve through polyline. Basically, by selecting these curves, you can decide the degree and the interpolation, so through the control points or through interpolation between the points, and it will create a curve out of it. So this is, of course, rebuilding can also help because it will change the degree from 1 to 3. This is another option that you have to make something that's workable within Rhino. I wanted to show also this last one, which is the extend. Basically, once we have parts like this, what we want to do is re-establish sort of height. Probably I exploded the stuff earlier. So, for example, I can use the trim command to just have this half and then mirror this guy over here, which is totally doable. Like this. But also what you want to do is extend the line, so because of the grading reasons and stuff like that. So what you can do is use the extend in this way, which is everybody that's been a Jevero user for a while knows about this. So you have more leeway here when you want to create your parts. There is also a sort of semi-automatic way that you can use this command. By basically right-clicking, you will extend the curve on both sides. So what happens, sorry, I got interrupted there. Basically, I right-click on this command and I can select the extension amount. And once I select it, I can it will add to the beginning and end of the curve. It will add some more. And the cool thing about this, I guess, is that you can, since the object remains selected, you can kind of make your way and decide how much you want to add by just hitting spacebar or enter, because it will keep adding little by little some distance to your curve. So that's it. Then you're able to grab these guys, mirror, and create your part, which has all the characteristics and features. And yeah, it's easier to rebuild from this way it's easier to build models in this way rather than because you can establish more relations between objects, so editing will be slightly easier going down the road if you only have access to a DXF. So if any of you watching this has more input or more ideas on what they would do with this, let us know. And yeah, for now this is all, and see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much. Bye bye.